out there and create some more leaders. Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see some of you younger guys that'll be able to come up here as well and get this wonderful medal. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Small College Basketball Podcast, celebrating the players, the programs, the coaches, and the history of small college basketball. Small College Basketball would like to thank Visit Central Florida for their support of the Small College Basketball Podcast and the Small College Basketball Hall of Fame Classic. Start planning your Central Florida vacation now at visitcentralflorida.com. That is visitcentralflorida.com. Just a quick reminder, you can listen to all of our podcast episodes on Spotify or Apple. If you are a returning listener, please leave us a 5-star review, leave us a 5-star rating. The video edition of the podcast is available on the Small College Basketball YouTube channel. You can find links to everything we discussed today in the show notes. The Small College Basketball Podcast was recently named to the top 10 college basketball podcasts in the country by Feedspot. Really exciting. And part of the top 100 college basketball podcasts in the country according to Million Podcasts. To see those lists, please click the links in the show notes for Million Podcasts or for Feedspot. Let's get right to it because last week was a fast break. We celebrated 6 national champions of small college basketball. Today, we're going to turn our attention to the NCAA Division II and the NAIA National Championship teams. Congratulations to the NCAA Division II National Champion Nova Southeastern Sharks. Terrific win last weekend. And congratulations to the NAIA National Champions College of Idaho Yotes. Before we get to 2 really special interviews today, let's celebrate the Small College Basketball Award winners from 2025. The winner of the 2025 Trevor Hudgens Award goes to Caleb Lowry of the Masters, NAIA. The Trevor Hudgens Award is presented annually to the senior who has had the finest overall 4-year career inside of small college basketball. Must play all 4 years at the small college level. Considerations include, their statistics, their achievements, team achievements, awards, and personal character. So congratulations to Caleb Lowry from the Masters, the 2025 Trevor Hudgens Award winner. The winner of the inaugural Ryan Terrell Character and Inspiration Award is Florida Southern's Jaden Booth. Congratulations to Jaden. He is currently on his honeymoon. We're working on getting Jaden and Coach Mike Donnelly on the Small College Basketball Podcast coming up soon. The Ryan Terrell Award is proudly sponsored by the Kraft Family Foundation. That's the Robert Kraft family, and presented annually to a men's basketball player at the small college basketball level that's faced adversity, handled great challenges with character and class, and ultimately became an inspiration and role model to others. So congratulations to the Ryan Terrell Character and Inspiration Award winner, 2025, Jaden Booth. And finally, the Bevo Francis Award, presented annually to the player who has had the finest overall season in small college basketball. This year's Bevo Francis Award winner is none other than MJ Iraldi from Nova Southeastern. Congratulations to MJ on winning the Bevo Francis Award for 2025. Congratulations to all of our award winners. And stay tuned for 2 really special interviews. We're going to hit hard on Nova Southeastern and the College of Idaho coming right up. Let's get up and running here, celebrating some of the awards from this past small college basketball season and celebrating some of our national champions. Joining us today, really excited to have Coach Jim Crutchfield a veteran of the Small College Basketball Podcast, and one of his great players, MJ Iraldi. So, gentlemen, thanks for being on the Small College Basketball Podcast today. Obviously, a busy time of year, but thank you for making some time.
Good to be here, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
So, Coach, I want to start with you. You've had tremendous success, and with the national championship this year, you have 2 national championships in the last 3 seasons. Looking back on this season, what made it unique or what made it special? And not the national championship, but what stands out to you about this season in particular?
If I was going to pick what's different about this season, I thought our style was a little different. We actually outscored teams more than any team in the country. I think a point margin around 28 points per game. But we got outscored from the three-point line. We didn't have an abundance of three-point shooters. MJ was one of our stronger three-point shooters, but we kind of survived by getting to the rim more this year. We had a little back to the basket play. We had guys like MJ going to the rim more, got to the foul line a little bit more. So it's a little different style of basketball. But, we're really not about anything but playing hard and winning. And that's kind of when I thought this team was more about that than anything else.
Yeah, and MJ, I want to steer it towards you now. Playing hard and winning, is that what sold you on Nova Southeastern, or was it the Florida Sunshine?
I mean, the sunshine has to be into the picture, right? Absolutely. Definitely not what sold me. I mean, it's kind of hard to replicate what they did the year I came in, obviously going 36-0, winning the national championship. But, I mean, if you're getting recruited to Nova, you're seeing the success they're doing. Obviously, how much success Coach has had, it's kind of a no-brainer.
And the style of play is unique, Coach. We've talked about this on the podcast before. But when you look at the style of play, MJ as a player, was that really intriguing to you? Was that a selling point?
When I saw MJ, what I saw was a guy who had a lot of different skills. A guy who could shoot the ball from the perimeter, mid-range, get to the rim, good size. And, but when you recruit guys, you never really know for sure how they're going to be. You really just provide an opportunity. And what MJ did was take the opportunity and just run with it. He just took the opportunity ahead of him and developed his game. He is a way better player now than he was when he came here. And that's because of him. He was in the gym way beyond practice. He was a guy that was really easy to coach. I can't remember one time telling him something that he said, no way. He was always saying, yeah, I'll give that a try. Just always kind of, soaking things in and working on his game. I didn't know he would develop this much, but boy, I'm glad he did.
And MJ, for you, when you looked at the way Coach approaches things and his offensive system, defensive system, very unique, what was it about that style that appealed to you?
I mean, I think, I'm at my best, I would say, in transition. I like to run. We get up and down. We play a very fast pace. That fits me. I think winning is obviously the biggest selling point. I think I knew coming in that he knows how to win and that I would learn from that because, I don't think I was a loser, but I never won at these levels. And I think that was the biggest thing that made the transition in my game is that I figured out the nuances kind of in the game to how to win.
Yeah, winning is really not easy. And the hardest part is getting yourself to do the things that you have to do to win. It's not about the mentality. It's actually following through and doing it. So I love that. I love that statement, MJ. Coach, let's talk about winning a little bit. You've gone to the national championship game 3 years in a row. You've won 2 out of 3. But this season against Cal State Dominguez Hills, you were trailing at halftime for the first time in that position. What was the discussion like with your coaching staff at halftime? And what was going on in the first half that got you guys not out of sorts, but Cal State was playing pretty well.
They're a very physical team, and they're a very good team. That's how they got to the championship. But, part of it was we were 3 for 21 from the arc in the game. And, we've kind of pride ourselves being a team that we can still have a bad shooting day and still win.
Mm-hmm.
In the national championship because you're playing against a team. But honestly, we really don't change very much at halftime. If there's anything, if I remember, talked a little bit about being more physical. This is a team that's very physical. We can't let them push us around. If we're going to run a set, we got to be able to get to our spots and get the ball where we want to get the ball. We can't let it be manhandled by a team, a very mature team and a very good team, and a very well coached team. But we don't change a lot. We have a game plan that is always the same, offensively and defensively. And it has a lot to do with these guys making decisions on their own. So, we pretty much just said, stay the course. If there's anything I say, it's usually just play harder. And they just continue to play harder.
MJ, what was it like in the locker room at halftime with the deficit trailing by 4 at half?
I would say something we weren't used to for sure. And I think like the first few minutes, it was kind of like not an awkwardness, but we were kind of like, this is not where we should. And then, you get a little bit more comfortable. You realize we're not playing our best. We still have 20 minutes to go. This is not the end of the game. We usually have a good first 5 minutes coming out of the second half. And I think we did a pretty good job of that coming out of the second half. And I think we kind of knew that going in.
Awesome. So you get through halftime and you rally back in the second half. As the game kind of goes on, Coach, question for you. Did last season's game enter your mind at all? I assume not, but you never know. It's human nature because you've played so many close games in the championship. Was there any thought of like, here we go again? I can't imagine so, but I got to ask.
It didn't. It's probably one of the few days it didn't enter my mind. But, we were into the game that we were into at that point in time. And, a lot of decisions to be made, in practice sometimes we'll play the last minute and a half of a game out. And these guys think it's about them learning how to finish the game. It's about me too. What decision am I going to make? I had a tough decision to make where I was going to foul someone. They had the ball back with to go. They had a guy that's not a strong free throw shooter on the court. Very tempting. And I'll tell you, I was back and forth on that one about where the foul, and, looking back, the numbers might have said the foul, but they had also just fouled out the guy who was their most dangerous scorer. And if he would have been in the game, we'd have probably fouled, but I thought, we'll get a stop. We'll get a stop. And then after that, I just kept my fingers crossed and said, please.
You're talking about some really important decisions, and you've already mentioned MJ. One of his strengths, slashing, getting downhill, being able to drive. 25 seconds to go, you're down one, no timeout offensively, big decision as well. And the ball ends up in MJ's hands. You get to the 10, man. What was going through your mind at that point on that possession, MJ?
I didn't know if the ball was going to be in my hands. I would say we have multiple guys that we trust with their decision making. The ball happened to be in my hands, and I was just kind of thinking to myself, "Don't settle." Obviously, I think I'm going to get the rim. I thought there was a possibility of me getting fouled, and that ended up happening. So, kind of was just the thought of don't settle. Maybe at least draw two, do something, make the defense play defense.
Yeah, and I thought you did a great job of getting to the rim, being aggressive, and then. Coach, like you said, that last possession, when you've coached enough basketball games, and Cal State didn't call timeout either. You weren't calling timeout to set your defense. They weren't calling timeout to run a set. It was just two good teams, and whoever had the ball last was going to get the last shot. What was going through your mind at that point? Was there any thought of calling timeout, or were you just going to get that stop?
I didn't think about calling timeout because I didn't want to give them one, but
yeah.
Only thought in my mind was I was going to run a sub in after the second free throw.
Right.
Just stop, let us lock up guys. But I looked on the court and I thought I didn't want to take anybody on the court off the court. I like the guys that were on the court. So the ball went through the hoop. We were already set into a 50, where we knew we were going to pick up, and we were screaming, get in the gaps, don't let a guy drive. I felt like we were already pretty much where we needed to be without a timeout. It's always nice to get a timeout in that situation, but you got to remember, if you get a timeout, they get one too.
Right.
And that's the question. Who needs one worse, us or them? I thought we could use one, but I think they probably could use one worse than us. They ended up getting the ball where I didn't want them to get it to the guy, beat him, who was kind of the last guy left on the court to score for them. But, he ended up taking a very difficult shot in traffic. You're always worried about a whistle blowing at that point in time. It's kind of scary. But, the thought of a timeout occurred. The thought of a sub going in occurred. And I was going to run a sub in. But the last second, I thought, I'm not putting a fresh body on. I like the guys that are on the court. We're going to go with those guys.
And MJ, what was the experience like for you and the emotion like for you when that buzzer went off?
It's surreal, definitely. I mean, that's why I came here to win a championship. Came up short last year. I would say that is, you can't really emulate that type of motivation for a season, kind of how our season ended last year. I think that was a motivating factor all year. We knew what the goal was, at least me and my teammates knew what the goal was for this year, and it's just relieving, for sure, relieving.
And Coach, for you, your second national championship here with Nova, was the feeling any different after the first one a couple of years ago?
I don't know. It's sometimes it's hard to take words and express it exactly to describe a feeling, but I can tell you it was pretty darn good. It felt really good, but I remember it felt really good the last time we won one. I'm just going to have to say it felt just about the same. It felt really, really satisfying. For me, I'm excited, but I'm not maybe as much to jump up and down and chest bump as much as some guys are. But for me, it's very satisfying. It's kind of an emotional feeling for me too.
And you're able to win the national championship. And one of the things that we've always heard is, with great team success comes individual success. So MJ, I want to turn the attention to you for a minute and congratulate you on the Bevo Francis Award, recognizing you as the top overall player in small college basketball. Quite an honor, man. So I'm going to give you the floor for a minute.
Yeah. First, thank you to you guys. Obviously, that's an unbelievable achievement. I'm honored. The names that are on that list it's awesome to see my name on that list with those other individuals. But yeah, I have to give all the credit to him and my teammates for sure. You don't win this award without, team success. It definitely doesn't take one person to win. It takes a team, it takes a village. And I think, I had a good year, but it was not just a single person kind of season. It was a team success from top to the bottom. I think, just really, really grateful.
So, Coach, I'm going to throw this one at you because MJ has had a special season. 837 points is a Nova Southeastern single season record. 10th nationally in points per game at 23.6. Sunshine State Conference Player of the Year, South Region Player of the Year, National Player of the Year, NABC National Player of the Year, and to top it off, the Bevo Francis Award. But what has he meant to you and the program?
He means we're going to win games. You put those kind of numbers on the board. He makes you win basketball games, and that's what we're trying to do. And it's kind of funny. You run all those numbers past me, and you would think I would be saying, "Wow, that was so great! You did all those things." I'm probably hard to play for because I see all that, but I don't recognize it. I'm saying, MJ, you took a bad shot. Why would you take that shot? After all those numbers, I tend to focus on the one thing that maybe you could do better at. And maybe a long time down the road, I look back and say, wow, those numbers run real. But, in real time, I just tend to focus on maybe there's something that you can do better. Keep working and getting better. And I'm not the one that's jumping up and down saying, MJ, you got National Player of the Year. I'm the guy saying, let's see what you can do next time. It's even better. It's just kind of a habit I have that I don't congratulate guys enough for all the awards and all the things they do well. And I'm right there. I don't over criticize, but I definitely notice the things I think they could do. So MJ is saying, I did all that stuff. Coach never said anything good to me. He's always telling me what
That's a huge reason why we found so much success right there. Keep me humble, for sure. Keep me humble.
Yeah, Coach, you couldn't do high school. I tell you that right now. You couldn't do high school in upstate New York. You'd struggle with that. They want to hear all the happy stuff. Hey, so I want to be respectful of your time. I got a couple more questions and get you out of here. I know it's busy. Coach, for you, real quick, you just mentioned as we got on the air that you're in a team meeting. There's a lot going on at Nova Southeastern. You know, what's the state of the program at the moment? What are you looking most forward to? Because, you know, enough people in college coaching right now, as soon as that last buzzer sounds, whether it's the national championship or it's in conference tournament play, you're on to the recruiting calendar and the next season. So what's it look like for you at the moment?
And we're doing that. You know, we're doing the recruiting, and you know, I don't want to go into a whole thing on the landscape of basketball today, but it's insane. It's just absolutely transfer portal and NIL has just taken over. Every year it has increased dramatically. And, you know, we're trying to find our way through that right now with the recruiting. But I'm trying to soak this up a little bit. You know, I spent a weekend in San Antonio, which I don't usually go to the Final Four, but I went this year. And, you know, every time someone said, wow, Nova Southeastern, it made me feel good. They talked about our win and our program. And so we're trying to soak it up a little bit. We just met and gave out some watches and gold basketballs. So we're still celebrating a little bit. But yeah, you know, in this profession, you got to be considered about next year and the time frame we're in right now. These 2 weeks and the previous 2 weeks and the next 2 weeks, this is when you kind of like make your team. This is the heat of recruiting right now and transfer portal time. So we're focusing on that too.
Okay, MJ, a couple of wrap-up questions for you. First question, we had Coach on the podcast last month, maybe end of February, I think, and we're talking about the success you guys had during the season. And he said that he does a great job at making practice fun every day. So I want to hear from you why practice is fun every day.
I mean, first I would say it's just a great group of individuals. I mean, we're such a close group. You know, I've never been a part of a team that has the ability to talk to one another without there ever being confrontation, if that makes sense. And it's a good thing. I'm allowed to criticize somebody and somebody's allowed to criticize me, and there's nothing that leads to any drama. So first, I mean, we're just all really happy to be here. We're grateful to be here, show up to practice every day with a smile on our face. And then I think it's just competitive. It's really, really competitive. We kind of, like he says a lot of times, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this one, we're not going to do stuff that wouldn't lead to us winning the game. So I think we do a really good job of that, of doing the things that matter. And I think that just translates to fun practice.
Okay.
Chris,
and do you have go ahead, Coach.
I think we're the only team in the country that MJ has done this, and I've seen a lot of guys in the last month. The last month of the season is tough to practice. And it's a grind time. But I've had a lot of guys say, come on, one more game, Coach, where it's half court and back, we're shooting games. I think we're the only team in the country where they're asking, come on, can we do it one more time? That's unusual this time of year. And sometimes I say no to keep them wanting for more. Just, no, that's all the fun you guys get to have today.
MJ, you've been at Nova now for a couple of years. Obviously, had a great season this year. What's your best Coach Crutchfield story that you can share with us?
Easy now.
Yeah, I will. Actually, okay. This is maybe more personal, but I remember we were playing Eckerd home, and we were having a bad shooting game. I wasn't shooting the ball very well. We probably weren't playing to the level we were capable of. And there was just a bad possession where I was just dribbling the air out of the ball, took a shot I shouldn't have shot, and I knew it. I knew it right away. And I look over, and he's got emotion, but he doesn't have a ton of emotion. And I just see him, and it's like, no, do not shoot that one. And not on the court, I started laughing, but we get back in the locker room. We get our food after the game, and I'm talking to Coach Smith like, you see that? He told me, he said, nope, don't shoot that one. And me and him kind of chuckled about it. And I was just, that made me happy because I knew, and it's good that he's holding me accountable. It's just, I remember that one because
I remember that.
It was
Oh
yeah. That one was good. That's a good memory.
Forgot about that.
You got a good MJ story for us, Coach?
I don't know that I do. Father, I could probably share. All right, I'll share one with you. No, I better not. I'll tell you what. I'll say this in all honesty. You couldn't have a more fun guy to be around. It makes my job so enjoyable to have guys like MJ here. And there's just number one rule here is no complaining. Now, the only time MJ complains is he gripes at Coach Smith constantly about fouls in practice.
Oh.
He's not smart enough to realize the more he gripes, the less calls he's going to get. Boys torturing him by like saying, I can't wait till MJ gets fouled so I can not call the foul again. So he hasn't quite figured that one out yet.
Yeah.
But it almost got to be kind of funny between Coach Smith calling fouls and you griping about fouls. Yeah.
I love it. And I think that's, ultimately at the end of the day, the small college basketball, level and even Division I, of course, but it's all about the relationships, right? With the player coach, player, and coach, and those relationships are so special. Obviously, you can tell with the dynamic that you have on the podcast today. So with that, I really want to thank you both for your time and the great stories and the great laughs. Congratulations on the national championship, and congratulations, MJ, to you on the Bevo Francis Award as the top overall player in small college basketball.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And now we will turn our attention to the 2025 NAIA National Champions, Coach Colby Blaine and the College of Idaho men's basketball team. Coach, congratulations, and thanks for joining the Small College Basketball Podcast today.
You bet. We appreciate you guys. I'm excited to chat about our season.
You guys had a wonderful year, and keeping with the theme of this episode, we just heard from Coach Crutchfield and Nova Southeastern. They won their second national championship in the last 3 seasons. Same for the College of Idaho and you, Coach. So the first question, kind of a big picture question, the emotions this year, and we talked about it a little bit off air, but the emotions this year compared to how you won that championship in 2023.
Yeah, well, there was the build up to the championship run both years, and then there was the actual games in Kansas City, and they were 2 totally different worlds. In 2023, I don't think our goal was to win the national championship, but we hadn't done it before, so we didn't know if our roadmap was working, and so there was kind of this naive spirit about us that was just totally different in 2023. This year, following that success, I've found is much harder. And it's, you think the roadmap, and so you're always trying to do things you did in the past. And this year we actually really just led with our heart. And so the emotions leading up was we just tried to be really present with who this team was. But then once we got to the tournament, we gained a lot of confidence when we saw how strong and together our team was. And we were able to keep our leads. In 2023, we let our leads slip in the Final Four, the Fab Four, and the championship. I was pretty impressed with this group's ability to keep our leads late in the tournament this year.
This group played outstanding at the end of the season. We were just talking about that off the air, especially in the national championship game. You defeated Oklahoma Wesleyan 93-65. You led for 38 minutes. It was pretty much an open and shut case. Talk about your team's performance that night and just how outstanding they were.
Yeah, well, I told our fans who came to the celebration when we got back to Caldwell here, I told them it was not the perfect season. We had a couple losses. It was a long year in terms of just figuring out who we are and what our rotations are and who are we, who's going to make the big plays when they need to be made. It took a long time all year long to get there. But, so I told him it wasn't the perfect season, but what it was the perfect amount of lessons that we needed to learn who we needed to become. And who we needed to become came out in that national championship game. We were confident, we were together, everybody was playing their role in order, in the order that it needed to be played. The way that our offensive possessions went, guys were passing up good to go to great. And they just knew where they fit in for us to play our best basketball. And we really showcased that, I thought, throughout the tournament, but especially in that national championship game. You got a guy coming off the bench like Dougie Peoples, who his job is to come in and shoot early in the possession. And he did it, with confidence because he'd gained experience through the year and grew. And then when everybody played their roles well, you saw the results.
Since entering tournament play on February 25th, and starting with, that's the Cascade Conference, that's the conference tournament, you played one game with a margin of victory under 10 points. And as you're making that run in tournament play, we've talked about the Fab Four in your national championship game, but as you're making that run, was there a moment where maybe you and the staff kind of looked around and said, okay, we think we're good enough to win the national championship, but I think we are going to win the national championship. Was there a transition in the way you looked at your team?
In 2023, we believed it really early. We believed it almost after Christmas that we were good enough to win it. I actually think this year, I think we had a little bit of that, anxious, pit in your stomach every game we tipped off, just not knowing. And I found at the tournament that it was the in-between each game was the most agonizing, because you're starting 0-0 again and you're just not sure. You're looking at your opponents and you're like, man, these are good teams with great athletes and they can really guard. So we were very anxious going into every game, not sure how you match up. But I will tell you, some of our favorite things as a team is that first clean rebound we get, getting up the court, watching that first three ball go through the net, and then the first timeout that our opponents take. Like that moment, if that all happens in the first 5 minutes of the game, it's the best moment for us all game, every game all year long, and we strive to find those moments, if that makes sense.
So you talk about those early possessions.
Oh yeah. We focus a ton early in the game on how we want to play it. I really believe that there's different pockets of the game that have to be played different ways. And so we definitely want to play fast early and take some chances. And you saw that if we can get a lead, then we get to play a whole different style of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that well in every game out there at the tournament. But yeah, every game we were tipping off against really good players, and we were concerned, at times about our matchups.
How did you, as you went through the season, obviously, 35-2, very, very successful. And with that success, you said you were starting to find yourselves. So how did you fight the complacency as you started to have success? How did you continue to fight that complacency in practice every day, especially leading into the tournament where you were on a roll?
Yeah. Well, I think a couple of things that really helped us. One is we had 8 seniors, and seniors they move at a different pace, right? Because they know that this is it. And so that really led us, after Christmas, our conversations before every game was, what's our purpose? What's our mission? And we broke those up into little pockets. Maybe we were on a 2-game road trip and we just wanted to win those 2 games during the conference tournament, and we focused on what did we need to do. But we started playing every game with a real purpose. And we've really found that storylines are super powerful. And this team had the perfect amount of storylines. We actually, the year before, we went 32-4. We lost to Langston in the last minute at the Fab Four.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that taste in our mouth about losing in the Fab Four, being really close to getting back to the national championship. We actually got beat on our home court in the conference championship game by Oregon Tech. And so we had that purpose to finish that out this season. And so we just had these nice little storylines. Even going into the tournament, Arizona Christian 3 years ago was our only loss in our first national championship game. So this senior class wanted to get that game back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Langston was the team that beat us last year, and they were in our Sweet 16 game. So there was just so many cool little storylines that really propelled us all year long.
And let's talk about a couple of your players. You mentioned already Peoples, but in the championship game, Samaje Morgan was terrific. 28 points. He was named the Chuck Taylor MVP. He averaged 17 points, 5 assists throughout the NAIA tournament. He's also an All-American. How good was he all year long for you?
Well, yeah, Maje is the engine to our whole deal, and he had a really good year. He had an incredibly amazing finish. He really showcased what he's capable of. But what Maje did for us this season was he really became an extremely good defender, and that doesn't always mean statistics. It means knowing a scout, knowing which way to push a guy every time you close out. The effort that you got to give to just be elite, like he really made strides there this year. So now we had this really solid, and improved perimeter defense. And then he's the head of the snake for our transition offense. So he really committed to pushing us down the court all year long. We actually had an early loss in an exhibition game this year, and we walked the ball up the court. And after that game, we had committed, like, no, we got to go. And Maje's the one who led that. He had a fantastic year, and I was really happy for him that he got to really showcase how talented he is on the biggest stage at the end.
And then Drew Wyman earned his third career All-American honor, named to the All-Tournament team. Started every game, pretty unique stat in this year's national championship run and your national championship run a couple years ago. 12 points per game, a lot of rebounds, 200 plus rebounds, 20 blocks, 50% from the field, over 50% from the field. How did Drew and Maje work together, and what was their dynamic like all year long?
Yeah, well, Drew, I mean, if Drew plays in a lot of other programs, he's scoring 20 plus points a game, and he's an incredible talent. His ability to score around the rim and from the 3-point line, and his athleticism is incredible. In fact, he started all 4 years for us. I don't know how we're going to tip off next year without our starting four-man there. But those two are kind of funny. They're actually kind of polar opposite personalities. They just see the world in different ways, and so it's kind of fun to watch them work together. But they've really grown a tremendous amount of respect for each other because of their talent, and both how they see the game, so when you see them working together, it's pretty amazing. But Drew is just Mr. Disciplined, do it right all day long. He's really calculated on how he moves and every decision he makes, and that's why he's just beyond consistent. And so that's why it's been super easy to start him his entire career, and then we counted on him in a lot of big situations. And I think where Drew doesn't get enough respect is his freshman year. He actually made about 7 game winners because we were in a lot of close games. Well, where he did his work over the last year is he did it early in the game. And then, sometimes we'd get up and maybe he wouldn't get to, 15 or 20 points because we'd sub him out and this and that. But he could really do some damage early in the game with his ability to shoot and offensive rebound and finish around the rim.
Yeah, and looking at your season stats and preparation for this, like you got 9 guys playing more than 10 minutes a game, almost 10 guys, you could say. And your depth was really valuable to you throughout the course of the season. How does that depth transition now into the offseason? You mentioned losing, you're starting four-man. How's that depth going to change, and what's it going to look like next year?
Yeah, well, we're kind of entering a new era of College of Idaho basketball. We've kind of been the same team for the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of returners. I think we had 6 or 7 that played in the 23 championship and the 25 championship. And so we've had great depth. We do have some of our really good guards coming back that have played. Samaje Morgan, Utrillo Morris, and Dougie Peoples all played significant minutes for us this season. And so it's nice to know we have these guards coming back that understand the expectations and can do it. They can play at a national championship level. We will bring in a big freshman class. We have 6 freshmen signed. And they're talented. We'll be young. I already know we're gonna, have our first mistake in the first couple minutes just because of experience. But I know that the group next year, it's all just about connecting. And by the time we get to the end of the season, if they're connected, we could be really good again. So.
Yeah, and talk about Johnny Radford. Um, you know, really terrific player for you as your leading scorer all year long. That speaks to the talent you have at your program. And of course, at the NAIA level, the talent is severely at times underappreciated. But speak to Johnny and the year he had for you and what he's done for your program.
Yeah, well, the greatest shooter in the history of our program set the career record in threes made at 351, which is a tremendous amount of made threes. But he did it at 42% career, which is
Incredible.
unheard of. But it really speaks volumes to his game. What's unique about Johnny is he doesn't take a bad shot, and his game has really grown where he's learned. A lot of teams are face guarding him and trailing him hard. He really learned over this last year or two where to find his windows and where to get his shots off that he can still be efficient in. So that was really fun to watch. In fact, we lost 2 games this season, and there's only 2 games that Johnny Radford did not hit a three in. And those are the 2 games we lost, which is an incredible stat. He hit a three in the 35 other games that we won. So he might just be the catalyst. Every time we saw that first three go through, we knew we were in good shape with him. But I think what's unique about Johnny is he's really grown into a very mature player who knows how to play the biggest moments of the game extremely well. End of game, or maybe we're down at halftime and he needs to come out and make his next shot. He really grew into that understanding and that role and that confidence. And so anytime we really needed a big play, Johnny was available on both ends to step up and make that.
Uh, just incredible stat. Incredible stat.
Yes.
I'm curious, did he get good looks or did the two opponents guard him differently than you had seen or differently than he was expecting?
Yeah, this summer I'm going to have to go back and watch because I think one game he had 6 threes, and I think maybe another game he had 3 threes, which if Johnny shoots, the ball's got a chance to go in, right? At
Yeah.
42% career. So I don't know what it was in those games. I don't know if it was just being rust or I don't know. I'll have to go back and research that for sure.
When you look ahead, we talked about this a little bit. When you look ahead, the landscape of college basketball at all levels is changing. What does it mean for NAIA and what does it mean for your program?
Well, I tell everybody this all the time. I really truly believe that we're the last frontier of what every young student athlete dreams college to be, right? And that's the
Mhm.
NAI in general, but speaking specifically to College of Idaho, like we have this amazing this college life, right? We eat in the caf, we study in the library. Our guys, hang out together. The campus cares about each other. They come to the games. We're either first or second in attendance. Like people care. The community comes out. The newspaper writes about us. We're on the news. Like there's some really special things here that you dream about. And I think we get sidetracked all the time with walking into maybe this cool gym or this nice locker room. And at the end of the day, those things don't make you happy. What makes you happy is the people around you, right? And I think the NAI, I think College of Idaho is built with so many great people who want the experience, they want the relationships. And so I think we're the last frontier. And what's cool is the student athletes that value that, they see it and they want to be a part of it. Whether it's at College of Idaho or all the other great NAIA programs out there too. And so I think we just continue to get better and better.
If you would talk a little bit about the moments that made your team this year, right? Like anything that stands out where you say, "Hey, like this is going to be a catalyst for us going forward."
Yeah, well, kind of a funny story for our season. We came back after Christmas And we've had this experience of chasing the national championship, right? And we always want to talk about what our goals are. And then we shift and we figure out, okay, who do we need to become to actually achieve that goal? Like, we're not afraid to talk about the national championship, but at the end of the day, that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is just that chase, is that commitment to who we need to be, right? So we come back after Christmas, and literally Thursday afternoon, we sit as a team in the locker room, and I have this big long speech prepared, and I ask the guys, "Do you want to go for this? Like, do we really want to commit to this? Because we know what that commitment's going to look like. It's going to look like a lot of sacrifice and a lot more growth and a lot of effort down the stretch." And everybody's in. Thursday, everybody's in. We play Corbin University on Friday night, first game after Christmas, and we get beat. So much for that. Big. Hey, we're going to chase this national championship, right? Well, that Corbin loss was the defining moment. It really put us into perspective that we're not invincible. Like, we can get beat, right? And then it really showcased to us that when we don't have a purpose, when we're not going into a game with a reason, like a significant reason for why we're there, we're really not as good as we think we are. And I think we just got sidetracked after Christmas, and we just thought maybe we would show up and win, and it's just not how it works. And so that game flipped our mentality, and it started helping us create purpose, and it put us on a mission. So I think maybe another defining moment too was, when I got this job, I was so excited about pregame speeches. That's what the head coach gets to do, And I can tell you, 7 years in, I am tired of pregame speeches. I don't have any more juice or any more cool stories, And so,
well, you get like one every 4 years. You can't keep going back to the well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to wait till the graduation, and then you can reuse some
Right.
other things. But so about 8 games into the season, I just handed it over to the guys. Each guy on our team, including our staff and our trainers and people close to the program, they each got a game where they were the pregame speech, and they get to give the message. And our guys really took ownership of that. And we have a lot of great storylines from those. And you could just see the guys take ownership of the program. And so that was really I don't want to say that was like a turning point, but that was really nice to just see the team drive the bus.
And so you've talked about, obviously, the game after Christmas and the pregame speeches, but was there a moment off the court that stands out to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I always love spending time in reflection about our seasons and trying to learn from us. You know, in reflection, we run our conditioning test the first day that we get back on campus. So somewhere in mid-August, we run our hard conditioning test, 5 down and backs, 5 times, and you got to do it in an average of 60 seconds. Really hard. And we crushed that test. And then we had done that in 2023. Like, our whole team was in great shape. And so that was a testament to, like, okay, we could be really good this year. That gave me a lot of hope. I don't know. I'm sure there are moments, but I don't know if I have one. We did go on a 4-game road trip, back-to-back road wins at OIT Southern Oregon, at Corbin Bushnell in January. And that was a confidence boost, those wins. But off the court, we spent a lot of time on the road together, and we ate a lot of meals together. And you could really just feel the team come together at that point. That was a pretty significant series for us.
It's a really important moment too in the season. If you can come together in January, heading into February, it's a really good feeling as a coach. Like, you're optimistic, because sometimes at January, guys are, as you know, they can be at each other's throat, and you're not, you're in the grind. Like, that's the hardest month, I think, of the year, is that January stretch into February. There's no light yet at the end of the tunnel. If guys are coming together at that point, it's a really promising moment. So,
yeah, one of my mentors used to always say, it's easy to play at the beginning of the year, and it's easy to play at the end of the year, because you just have purpose and motivation, right? It's that middle part where you can get sidetracked. And so you're right. Like, I could see us really coming together at that point. And it was fun to watch.
well, Coach Blaine, really appreciate your time today coming on the Small College Basketball Podcast. Looking forward to following the Yotes next season as they chase chase more success. So congratulations to you, your team, and your staff. Appreciate you coming on today.
You bet. You guys are the best. I hope to be back here again next year.
That's it for the Small College Basketball Podcast this week, celebrating our Division II and our NAIA National Champions. We'll talk more awards and more championships next episode.